Yep. Then they zoom in on him. Standing there.
District vision mission statement, Green County Community School District will promote lifelong learners through real world experience. Roll call, establishment quorum.
Benhart.
Here.
Fisher.
Here.
McConnell. Wilson is absent. Carter.
Here, Wilson is here,
Oh, there's Wilson.
right on time.
Here. 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 Aye. Here. Aye.
We have a motion for approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda. Second.
Moved by Steve Fisher, second by Mike Benhart to approve the agenda. Please call the roll.
McConnell.
Aye.
Wilson. Aye. Benhart.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. Open forum. Do we have anyone who'd like to address the board about issues that are not on the agenda? What is dialing in? He went out, didn't he? Okay. Consent items. Questions? Motion to approve.
Move we approve the consent items. Second.
Moved by Steve Fisher, second by Mike Denner to approve consent items. Please call the roll.
Wilson. Aye. McConnell.
Aye.
Benhart.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. Old business. Meeting dates, times, location. Basically, same as we've been doing.
If you're gonna change locations, because we're not gonna be here.
Yeah, 101 Ram Drive would be the next.
Okay,
Board
so
meeting.
next
Next
meeting
month.
will change.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
We'll continue third Wednesday of the month. Work session 5:15, regular meeting at 6:30.
And the only time that changes is spring break.
Spring break would be
March.
the only.
Okay. Questions, concerns, motion?
I move we approve the meeting dates, time, and location as suggested on the agenda. Second.
Moved by Steve Fisher, second by John McConnell to approve the meeting dates, times, and locations as stated. Please call.
Benhart.
Aye.
Wilson. Aye. McConnell.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. Board committees. Everybody know what committees have been? Do we want to continue to do that same? Does somebody want to change?
The only one for sure we need to change, so we talked about, Catherine's on the scholarship committee, but has a daughter that's a senior, but probably shouldn't be on that committee.
So somebody else has got to do it. You're already on it.
Yeah, I suppose.
It's not a big deal. You can do it.
I gotta look for Duke Calvert.
Tight on that?
Everybody else okay with
Everybody else
staying on the same committees?
Yeah, there's. So, we want me to read through these? County Assessors Conference, Steve Fisher, Park and Recreation, Catherine Wilson, Negotiations, Mike Denark, Steve Carter, Administrative and Classified Salaries, also Mike and Steve Fisher, School Improvement Advisory, John McConnell, Catherine Wilson, School Foundation, Steve Fisher, Facilities, Steve and John, Insurance, Steve Fisher, Scholarship, John McConnell, and now Mike Denhart, Wellness, myself and Catherine Wilson. Do you need to approve those?
Sure. Let's have a motion.
Have a motion to approve those committees?
I'll make a motion to approve the committee appointments.
Second.
Second.
Moved by Catherine, second by John to approve the board committees. with the one change of Mike Denhart for Catherine Wilson on the scholarship committee. Please call the roll.
Fisher,
Aye.
Denhart.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Carver.
Aye. Okay. Voluntary retirement applications. That paper in front of you. So we capped this at 300,000, is that correct?
200,000 is the, kind of the target that we kind of cap it at.
200,000.
Yeah.
So are we above that, the way this reads, or
There are 241.
241?
Actually, the board policy says just the incentive payment is a
200,000.
$200 cap. There's no cap on the sick leave portion. So if you look at that, you're at 171
Okay.
rather than 241.
And we potentially have at least one more.
Yeah, and the deadline is actually January.
Yes,
You know,
there's
so
still
we're-
time for others to submit.
We're doing it now from the standpoint of, to be able to advertise and different things of that nature.
So do we need to approve these applicants now?
Yes, but like you said.
A motion to approve.
Move we approve the yearly retirements as listed.
Second.
Moved by Steve Fisher, second by Mike Denhart, to approve early retirement requests. The 6 individuals listed. Please call the roll.
McConnell.
Aye.
Wilson. Aye. Denhart.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Carver.
Aye. Okay. Reports and correspondence, FFA program.
Asked the FFA to give us a little report update. A big part of it, originally we talked about moving greenhouse from out there out to the school. The more we looked at it, I think we're looking at trying to purchase a new one and have the building trades class put that up, but
Where would you like them to present at, so everybody,
just
we're in compliance and.
right across the front, I think it'd be fine.
Okay. You guys got this?
Hang this line up. I would say,
That's fine.
go all the way over there, around the edge of the carpet and face this direction, I think.
The camera will get you better at it.
Yeah, right there.
Hello, everyone. I'm Emma Holterman, and my peers standing next to me are fellow members of the Greene County FFA.
My name is Autumn Villabro, and I'm Connor Allender.
We are here this evening to propose building a new greenhouse at the high school and enhancing our further agricultural development. We will speak about beneficial opportunities, pros and cons, greenhouse configurations, financial possibilities, and will answer any questions you may have at the end.
This new greenhouse will provide many beneficial opportunities for not only FFA members, but other students in the agricultural classes. Some of the following opportunities include practical real-world experiences such as floral design and business management. As of 2019, 295,500 employment opportunities were available in the greenhouse industry. A new greenhouse would also provide lab experiences in growing and raising a variety of plants, and would help develop personal qualities of leadership, responsibility, and accountability. Another goal we have with the greenhouse would be to develop unique connections with our school and our local community through a plant sale or workshop. So up on the screen, there is a list of possible greenhouse activities. Apart from our FFA chapter, the high school agriculture classes have the chance to learn many different things, including propagation, which is the planting and growth of plants. Students will also learn about lab safety, greenhouse management, and the pruning of plants. The FFA chapter will be able to learn about floriculture, landscaping, horticulture, and better improve their plant-based CDEs, which are career development events, and SAEs, which are supervised agriculture experiences. The community will be able to be involved in our annual FFA plant sales as well and participate or host workshop events.
With our new modernized school, we think it would be a great idea to also build a new state-of-the-art greenhouse facility because this will help broaden our school program and provide more educational opportunities. And with the recent move and building of our school, the building codes have changed as well. However, with pros, there are cons of building the new greenhouse. The upfront cost will be much greater than the old one. On the screen is a picture of a larger version of a Rimol Matterhorn greenhouse. In comparison to our previous greenhouse, this one has a solid frame, and if you look towards the top, you can see a ventilation area on the roof to keep the greenhouse at an optimal temperature, and then if needed, the sides will also open. Right, so up on the screen are some configurations of two different types or sizes of the Matterhorn greenhouse. We chose this greenhouse because of its durability, accessibility, and the correlation with the new building codes, easy assembly, and its state-of-the-art construct. Currently, there are two different size options that are more beneficial for our projects. First size is a 24 by 48 foot greenhouse, costs about $40,000. Construction cost estimates about $16,000. And then the second option is a 24 by 36 foot greenhouse, averaging over $36,000. And then the construction cost would be about $14,500. Both of these do not include plumbing, electrical, flooring in the pricing. So the pros with our new greenhouse would be that it's snow resistant, it's easy to construct, there's roof vents and mechanical side vents, it's quiet, there's 2 doors, lower maintenance, and it's longer lasting. The cons would be the higher upfront cost, and it doesn't include electrical, flooring, or plumbing. Mrs. Harris, as well as our chapter, have already looked at and have been contacted by a few businesses willing to help fund this project. On the screen on the left side are some grants we could apply for. As a committee and a chapter, we would present to local clubs, businesses, and organizations to donate as well. Next to the greenhouse, we would also like to recognize these sponsors with a donor board. This donor board would display the level of sponsorship. Currently, our treasurer is preparing the 2021 budget for our FFA chapter, and part of this budget will include the amount our chapter will contribute to the project. We hope that this helps you to consider letting us purchase a new greenhouse because it can improve our ag classes, facilities, community connections, and experiences. Are there any questions?
This is part of the bid before, is this part of the?
Again, the original plan was to move the greenhouse from existing location.
Right. So is that budget wise, are we?
Would be able to handle it. In budget, again, the goal would be to, if they can continue to do some fundraising and different things of that nature.
There's, even if we did move the old one, there's a bunch of upfront costs on it, because you got a lot of panels that are outdated, worn out, so it would, it wouldn't be that amount, but it might be 50% of that cost.
And a part of the project, there is a pad for it along with the plumbing and electrical.
Yes, we have electrical.
There's a pad for it and electrical, that was part of the project.
That is already installed, you said?
Correct.
Okay.
We've been having some conversations that we need to do something. So we've got a pad for it, we'll hit the 24 by 36.
I didn't catch, now you're talking about some private funding for this, some donor funding. How much are they asking the school to contribute then? Is that determined yet, or?
That will be determined after our treasurer has done our estimate budget for the
And that's specifically for our FFA chapter. So our chapter wants, like, this is a project we want to contribute to as we see the benefit for not only our chapter, but for the ag program in general. So that's specifically from our chapter. I don't believe it has been discussed if the school fund would be partial for that funding as well. But specifically for our chapter, we're looking at how we can budget for and contribute to the project.
Yeah, because the FFA's got better funding now, don't they, since you're doing a little farming?
So the farm account is separate,
Oh, it can't be used for,
not currently with what we're working towards, but
Okay.
our cross committee is having a projection of what they would like to do with that funding for specifically to utilize for our crop plot.
okay,
So we're trying to keep it as separate as possible since they're two really big projects.
yeah, okay.
Can you girls tell me what classes that you would take to use the greenhouse besides FFA? Are there classes that you take?
plant life, horticulture, and then we might have a few more added in, depends on how well this goes.
Career Academy potentially use it as well. That another member of the committee,
Mike Richards.
Mike Richards, who indicated there would be some things that he would use as well for teaching classes
Yeah,
at that level as
and I
well.
can speak on that too.
That's great.
So our Career Academy right now, we're trying to figure out ways that we can work together and to allow our programs to be a little bit more cohesive, and to allow my program to build into the Career Academy. So part of that this year, one of the classes was using grow lights in order to grow corn, soybeans, alfalfa, so that way students are able to, even in the harvest, to see what the beginning of those crops look like. That's a little bit harder to do with grow lights within a building, whereas if we were to have a greenhouse, that would be an easier process where they could grow much better. And that's kind of things that we have seen. There's other things too that we could align with a little bit more between the two programs, especially since with this year learning what the Career Academy's needs are and how we can help create that partnership a little bit better. But that's things that Mike Richards and I, as well as Terry Coleman, who's the other instructor there, that we're kind of already having those conversations for what it could look like for next year.
Would Iowa Central then contribute to any portion of like equipping or running the greenhouse?
Don't know that, just because I'm not a part of that, but however, I'm sure that there could be opportunities.
How does that work, Tim? Because like with the building, we did the brick and mortar of it, so.
I think that they would be willing to maybe supply some equipment,
Yeah.
things like that. And then we've also, we get Carl Perkins funds that we've allocated the X amount for equipping the greenhouse.
Such as like automatic waters, just
Right.
things that will, tables, things that will allow us to, again, have a facility that is easy to run, that's for students as well as myself.
We also have some funding, we talked about, regional planning partnership is another thing that, each year now, one of the programs has to go through a process to be approved at the state level. The year before Ray Lynn was here was the ag program. It did not get approved. Ray Lynn did a little bit of tweaking with the information and everything. So it's been approved, so we've got about $8,900, I think, as well, that can be spent towards the greenhouses. So we've got some funds, and, again, you talked about applying for some grants and some of that stuff, so.
Part of the grants though, so like, farm credit services, part of it has to be, we have to wait for like approval, and an X amount of contribution prior to applying for some of these grants. And so that's part of the reason why we're here today, is just to make sure that there is a full, we do have your support before we were to venture into the community and start promoting the purchasing of the greenhouse and applying for some of these grants.
So we just need a motion to approve.
I don't feel it's an agenda item at this point. This is just a report.
Okay.
I don't feel like you can
So
vote.
do we need to do for a go ahead
Yeah, you don't have
vote?
enough specifics really unless you just vote to approve to move ahead with it.
But she said that if they want to further on to the grants, she has to have approval
I think that
or the nod.
yes, no?
I think you're okay. I think as long as, to me, the key thing
There's
is,
kind of general consensus.
Okay.
as a board, if there's consensus that, we feel comfortable moving forward with that, again, still putting everything together.
I think it sounds like a good program. I'm in favor of it.
Yeah.
You said we've got a pad. You had two different sizes. Is the pad for one size or the other, or is it?
Again, we've had some meetings with, again, the Ag Advisory Committee, and we poured a pad for the 24 by 36,
Okay. Is that gonna be big enough?
the small.
So that was, if you saw in that first picture, that larger version of the Matterhorn greenhouse, there's potential that we could add on
Oh, okay.
if the program continued to bring in more students, if Iowa Central saw the need for it too, with the growing of the Career Academy, there's potential that we could add on.
You can just add on in
Correct.
12-foot increments, it looks like, yeah. Cool.
Good job, ladies.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would say you have support of everybody here.
Appreciate it.
Since the board is to proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good job.
Construction update.
Well,
Center Sam.
we're getting near the end.
Yeah.
High school, the punch list is almost done inside the academic wing and the career academy, so they're down to mostly what they got left is painting issues. The commissioning people, which check all the systems and the heating, the cooling, the fire alarms, everything are done. The only thing that they can't check is the chill water system because it's too cold. So they'll come commission that in the spring when it warms up. But all the boilers, everything is running the way it's supposed to now. So, and we are having less of the pressure problems I noticed on the building. It's running really well finally. So the auditorium unit was the one I think throwing everything off because we hadn't balanced it. The auditorium is almost done. What's left in there is trim. They're putting the boards around, the wood around the orchestra pit right now. But they got slowed up. Their carpenters got the COVID, so it took a 2-week hiatus in there. So they haven't made as much progress, but the lighting is all in, the sound system is all in, the video system is all in. All the curtains are hung, all the rigging's done, the floor is down. It's ready for a production, really. So we just need kids in the production. It looks great. I was talking to Brent before the meeting about it. He had to go to the training for, he said, I wasn't kidding that it's Broadway level stuff, the stuff that we got, the amount of stuff we can do pyrotechnics and all these different things in there. We already have that capabilities in the system. So
That's kind of scary, Sam.
it's really cool. That's what you get when you get consultants that design Broadway venues, man. Our venue is there's no high school can touch our venue, I don't think. It's just wonderful.
Tell me how, with that, you said he's going to learn how to run it. Is he going to be the only one that knows how to run it? Are you?
No, they trained several people.
Yeah, that's scary. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And it'll take,
Mr. Anderson, they've taken
Perfect.
training as well as
yeah.
custodians for the things they need to
Yeah.
be and add them and everything, so.
Yeah, and it's also all the training being videotaped. So that if you need to bring in new people, they can show them on the videotape how the things work. So the lighting and the sound is just gonna take people practicing to learn how to run it, so. Cause there's just a lot the boards are huge that you gotta control.
And the one thing that I'm kind of excited about, and I hope that he follows through, Mr. Heupel kind of talked about when he was doing the training, you know, the person providing the training said, you know, this could be an internship for students and all that. You know, I think it would be a great class or attractive classes for kids that would like to get into that kind of thing.
And there's real jobs in that.
Correct.
Not just in those kind of production facilities, but in video production facilities like WHO and those places. So if you can run sound equipment, light equipment and stuff, there's really good paying jobs. So yeah, I think it'd be a neat track to come off of that. And we have the kinds of boards they would experience in a professional level, so they would be trained, right? So yeah, everything's going good there. We're just down to the final little bits of stuff to get taken care of at the high school.
We have production.
I think
Scheduled to perform.
It's spring musical, so hopefully
Yeah.
life will allow.
the tryouts are next week, so
Yeah.
they're proceeding with it.
I don't know whether concerts or.
We were scheduled on Monday night to have dessert concert that, again, with the limited capacity and, you know,
Can't do any of those things till.
we didn't do it, so that we hope to have a concert in spring.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been tight even at two people per kid to put them in the gym. You couldn't have put them in the auditorium, probably. It would have been way too tight. It seats 700, but you take 150 kids and 2 people, you got 300 people pretty quick, so. So the high school's pretty much done. We're just on the finishing stages of cleaning it up, so. The middle school, we're working now on changing out, the lot. There were several doors we replaced on the classrooms with new doors and put new hardware. The rest of the doors were in good shape and didn't get replaced, but they're getting new hardware, no new handles. He's starting to work on that now. So when that's done, just like the high school, all the classrooms will be on the same key, so that if it's a shooter thing, but if there's a shooter in the building, you take all the kids you can grab anywhere you are and run into the nearest classroom and lock the door from the inside. So they all have to have the same key, so they can just shove it in whichever lock and lock the classroom that they're in. And so it's a little different. So we're changing all the rest of the locks out on that. That's going pretty well. So the rest of the building, that's about all that's left in that part of the building that we've turned over. There's some trim work and stuff there too. The gymnasium got turned over right after Thanksgiving. They've been using it for PE and practice. The bleachers got installed yesterday, so we should be ready for games in there now. We had a change. If you looked in the change orders, there was some change orders in the gym. One was to move a scoreboard from this gym to that gym because we didn't have a scoreboard out there because we never had a play game. Need a scoreboard. There wasn't any way to sit and watch anything in there. So we got that. We moved the sound system from there to there. So got that all moved. And then the baskets, again, like the high school, they have the up and down adjustment besides just the folding adjustment, and the piping wasn't there. So there's a change order in there for that, so that they can run that. The two that we took from this gym and put out there don't have that attachment, but I had them run the piping and the wiring over for that. So at some point, all we need to buy is the attachment that makes it go up and down. But all the piping and all of that's in and painted and done. So, and the gym's turned out really nice. I mean, the floor is incredible, and the natural light in there is just, it doesn't even seem like the same sweat box that thing was. It just turned out wonderful. The wrestling room has come miles. The construction class has poured a wall around where the mats are, a concrete wall that they're putting fiberglass sheetrock on and tightening that up. And then they laid the floor system and the new mats rolled out in there now. It just turned out really awesome. They got all kinds of space besides that. They got those two big mats that you bought. Take that in, so they got all that, but they got room around that for bikes and all that stuff, the conditioning equipment. And their heating unit is separate from anything else. So if they want to run it to 100 degrees, I suppose they can, and they won't hurt anyone else. So then the administration area is, as Tim indicated, you'll be going out there pretty soon. It's done. They cleaned it yesterday, so it's ready to move in. And I think the plan is over Christmas break to move out there. So the server room is also done. And I think Brent's also planning to move the servers over Christmas break. We had some air movement things in there. There'll be a change order for, but we got that taken care of Monday. So everything is coming along pretty good. I think by this time next month, I think we're going to be down to just punch lists on everything. So we haven't officially turned the auditorium over to the school because of the trim work, but it's getting close.
I have a question about the parking, the student parking. It's really dark.
I agree, it is. And we talked to the electrician about pricing some lighting, and we can probably look at that, but we're probably looking at $30,000 or $40,000 to put more lighting out
I
on the
just know if
lot.
you're coming off of Rimol to a basketball game, I mean, they were doing some sort of work at that exit.
They had to tear out what they didn't put in right.
Couldn't see it, you couldn't see it until you were there.
Yeah,
Almost needs a street light right there,
yeah.
at least.
Hopefully that over time, those street lights will get put into
Yeah.
on Grimmel, and that'll help a lot, but our parking lot's dark.
Yeah.
So we've talked to them, and there's piping run under it, luckily, under the parking lot. It's run clear out, it was run for all the future stadiums and everything. So if we can get into one of those islands in the middle and dig down to that piping, we could tap into it and have a place to run some.
Yeah, because it's like that far south end of it, it's really,
Yeah, and that's where we're looking, is we put lighting on there, and then we'd have it on the north and the south, and it might be a little darker in the middle, but yeah, it's pretty dark. I don't know what they were thinking with the lighting, but any other?
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's coming, it's turned out really well. I'm very happy with everything out there. The quality of the work and everything has just been great, so.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Are you gonna give us the tour out there when we go out tonight?
Tim knows it.
Tim, okay.
If you have a question, he doesn't know the answer, you can let me know. He pretty much knows, I think. But Tim and I talk a lot, so. Great, thanks. Did I talk enough about the change order? Do you have did you see any questions on those change orders? I think we're just a lot of, whenever you renovate something, there's just stuff that pops up, so.
You might just address, again, substantial completion.
Oh, I didn't talk about
They
that.
they turned both buildings over in phases, and essentially that's for warranty. You might just address that.
So there's a term that they use called substantial completion, and it's a term that means it's fit for the owner's use for the intended purpose. So the owner's use for the intended purpose. So in this case, us using it to educate our kids. That doesn't mean it's done. I mean, they might have stuff like touching up walls and stuff like that. But once it meets substantial completion, it starts a different amount of money that they can have. The retainage can get brought down and some things like that. So we worked with them on setting dates that as we turned over pieces of the building, that's when we accepted it. So the high school is in 3 separate dates, and we mimicked that with the middle school. So as we started using a space, the date we started using it is what we agreed to call substantial completion. And the most important thing for that is it starts the warranties on the heating and cooling. That's usually the biggest factor. So, because those warranties, that's the first thing they look at was what date did you install the equipment, and then when was substantial completion. So those 3 dates, and we're mimicking it on that. So I think we agreed on a December 15th date or something like that for the audit, for the administration area. Next week, I think, actually.
12/23.
Yeah, next 12/23. So that we could move in. So when they finish, when they do that, we'll be moved into everything. So both buildings will be substantially complete. But they're probably going to be doing punch lists for another month or so. And then they'll still have things to clean up in the spring, like that chiller testing and all that stuff. But for the most part, they should be out of here by mid-January, I would think, for most of what they got left to do. So maybe only one more time I have to come back and update you. But if you get a chance and to walk through the auditorium, it's impressive. Yeah, it's fascinating to me how that turned out. I'm very, very happy with that. And the gym's outstanding, but the auditorium is even miles above that, so.
I have a Doug reader today.
Hopefully before the school year is out, we can have some official celebration.
I hope so.
Invite the public in.
The public sure needs to get in there and see what gorgeous building it is and yet how functional it is. Because it's both. I mean, it's extremely functional and it's just very pretty, but it's very durable. I mean, it's gonna last this school district a long time, so.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, see ya.
Sorry.
You want-
Just curious to see what the next school.
Contract sums, 449. Hopefully we will be in our budget.
I know I won't.
We're dead by then.
Yeah.
I just- sometimes we just round up the numbers. Okay, board committee reports.
I don't have anything.
Administrative reports.
Mr. Johnson?
Hello all. Hope everyone's having a good night. Right now at the elementary, you know, I think sometimes things weighing on everybody's mind is COVID. We are doing really well with that right now. I don't believe we have anybody out that I can think of off the top of my head. Earlier in the week, we did have one, or last week I should say, and it was a person that was actually, we had some miscommunication on that from everything, and so we got those kids back in school. Otherwise, things are going really well. Teachers and students after that break came back with, I think, a renewed enthusiasm for being in school. So pushing through to Christmas break. So really not a whole lot since our last report has happened. Any questions for me?
Glad to hear things are going better.
Yeah, I am too. I think we're starting to actually see a few parents that are seeing that, and we've gotten a few kids coming back to in person and through the month of December. So that's a positive sign for us too.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Sanders?
Good evening, everyone. Much like Mr. Johnson, our building's been working pretty hard at trying to keep kids in school through the Christmas break. Following Thanksgiving, we put some renewed emphasis on mask wearing, hand cleanliness, and social distancing, including meals, cafeteria spacing. We're seating only now at 25% capacity. So we've taken 4 lunch shifts and made them 6 to increase spacing. I know a lot of us feel like we've been mask police the last few weeks, and that hasn't been so fun. But I think we're doing a pretty good job. We've been doing a good job until yesterday. I think we had a first case in some time, and unfortunately that affected a lot of other people. So I was disappointed in that. We ended up sending, I think, 14 kids home today, unfortunately. But we are still in session, and the majority of the kids are there. So that's a good thing. Teachers have been working. I should back up. I should say gold star to our staff, teachers and associates who have base camps. They've inherited additional duties in order to make that shift change to 6. And I really appreciate their cooperation. Teachers specifically, of course, continue to work on remote learning. The Monday afternoons we're very grateful for. Those things are going well, I think, and they're starting to develop a routine. The in-person learning, of course, we're still working on that, trying to make improvements for those students who are in person. And then with the parent-teacher conference issue from the fall, our staff has been working on recording videos. We have about 90% of them finished, hoping to work with Brent here in the next month to get those on a Google site, make them available to parents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Phillips?
Good evening, everyone. I have some thank yous to start with. First of all, thank you to Cal Kenny and Emily Gannon, they wrote, co-authored a grant through the CARES Act. Got us some picnic tables if you happen to have driven by the high school that are out there. I know they're kind of in the way for snow removal, but hopefully they'll be a better use this spring. We get kids during lunch out there using them or classrooms. A bunch of water bottles, display screens, I believe, for the middle school, a bunch of things that they got. It was a pretty substantial grant, so thank you to them. Another thank you to Teresa Green and the CTE kids that were on the radio. You might have heard them December 4th, and then I think they were on today for the last time. That was the Raccoon Valley River Caring Christmas food drive, and I think that was very successful. So thank you to Teresa Green and all those CTE students that volunteered for that activity. We had Tabitha DeMay from the AEA visit recently with our building coalition team to look over our improvement plan, our ESSA plan. Got some recommendations for her. The things that we have on it are the right things that we're working on. COVID has kind of slowed us down a little bit, but we're doing the right things, and we got a lot of good feedback from her. That's it.
Thank you. Mrs. Sandberg?
Good evening. Got a lot of things going on right now just because of the time of year. Emily Gannon and I have started working on planning for doing the Iowa state-wide assessment for student progress, the ISASP, for our kids this year since we missed last year. They just started rolling out some details on that, including starting to think about what that might look like for remote learners. So we've started planning for that and have some time scheduled to work on those things. I'll be doing some learning next month on that. We will be having a brand new system next year for special education and the individualized education plans that we write for those kids. And so I'm going to get to take a look at that next month and start thinking about how that might affect the changeover for our system. Working on some changes with the teacher leadership roles and working with the admin team on trying to create some new job descriptions for what that'll look like, and partnering with our AEA with that as well. So we'll have additional levels of support for that. Started doing some lovely training for Title IX coordinator. A lot of things that the federal government would like to have in place that most people probably wouldn't even think about, but lengthy training, and a lot of information there. And also started looking at the Chapter 103 changes that happened in the Iowa legislature last year that has to do with seclusion and restraint for students. We don't really have an issue with that really in our system, but it's something that we have to plan for, and new guidelines need to be followed. So I've been doing some training and working on modifying some documents related to that, and eventually there'll be a policy change at the board level as well. And then I've been working on some learning around ELL students, our English language learners, and when we should and when we shouldn't be identifying them for special education services, trying to make sure that we really have looked at every angle with those kids to make sure that we're dealing with a disability and not just a language acquisition problem. So I've started some learning on that, and we'll be doing a second part to that evaluation part in February. So a lot of things going on right now.
Thank you. Mrs. Neal?
Yeah, hi, good evening. One of the things we've been working on in the reading area is we just got over Data Day on Monday. We worked with all the teachers on looking over and analyzing student reading data. Who's progressing, who's not, what do we need to do to switch that up? So the teachers are working really hard, especially with the COVID breaks that we've been having, to keep those kids on target and progressing. So I want to just shout out for all the teachers working extra hard in the reading area. Also, besides the Data Day, we've been trying to think about how we can keep the kids reading over Christmas break. So we have some reading incentives ideas for at least K-4, and then hopefully our middle school and high school students will also be reading, because that's a pretty easy thing to do to keep up on their reading. So anyway, have a great holiday, everybody.
Thank you.
Mrs. High Note?
Hi there. I have been working with Julie and the AEA. We're trying to help our teachers with documentation for their small groups. So that's something we've been working on, and we're looking at new curriculum at the elementary level and the middle school level for math next year. So that is another thing that we're starting to look at as well. Do you guys have any questions for me? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gordon?
Hello, everyone. I guess I will update you on the latest proclamation from the governor, which changed some of the spectator guidelines. She changed the spectator guidelines to allowing immediate family only into the games, which went from, it was just 2 spectators, and now it is immediate family only, which means people that are living in the household with the player or student. So we've gathered all that information, and we'll have that list at the ticket taker when they get there. So that's the biggest change that she made today. It kind of lifted it, so now maybe siblings can go instead of just 2 people, but it also eliminated some grandparents, things like that, to go as well. So this runs through January 8th, and I don't like the timing of it any better than anybody else, but that's where we're at and what we have.
Question for you, are we marketing the Zoom
The NFHS network?
network? Yeah.
Yes, we had, the first night we ran it, we had over 400 views. Last Friday night, we had 600 views on the NFHS network. So we've had over 1,000 people watch over our first 2 events that we broadcast. We do, starting this Saturday, we will have Doug Reeder live with the feed. So we'll have audio and be Doug Reeder, and he'll be going live with the video. So that'll be nice also to have him on that.
So is that available to anyone now at no cost, or is that something we just have to subscribe to?
It's a subscription. Yep, $10.99 per month. But that also gives you access to anybody who has the NFHS network, which right now is Rolling Story. Last night, our wrestlers were at Iowa Falls, and they used it to broadcast, so that would have been free to anybody who had paid the monthly subscription. So for the cost of 2 tickets, you can watch anything you want to on there as well.
Mr. Gordon, does our activities department get a kickback from that?
We do. We get a small sum from every monthly subscription. And then if somebody buys the yearly or annual subscription, we get a little bit more out of that. I think we get $2 from every monthly subscription. We get $20 from every annual subscription.
And if I wanted to do that, how do I do it? I don't know how to get the annual subscription. I mean, is it someplace I have to go online, or?
Just the NFHS network, and you would just purchase your subscription there online.
NHSA?
NFHS.
It's National Federation of High School Sports and NFHS. Can you send me a link, Mr. Gordon, and I'll share it with people?
Absolutely, I'll do that right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you'll email me?
Yeah, I'll email everybody.
Okay.
It's pretty cool. We watched it a little bit, just
Yeah.
the home games, and that camera just, it follows the movement and just does it all on its own.
Yeah, it's
It's
amazing.
neat.
I saw the stuff earlier, the example of it, but I wasn't sure when we were able to subscribe to that, so.
What's the girls' record right now?
2-2.
Wow, good deal.
So I don't know whether, I guess my question is, do we need to be marketing this out of the community and let other people know that it's available, so that
Mr. Gordon puts it up on social media every week, I see it, and then if they're playing stuff we played at West Marshall and they don't use that, they just use a YouTube channel, he'll put that up, and so, but maybe even some sort of other
See, I'm not on
publication.
social media, so I don't.
Right,
I don't
right.
get any of that stuff.
I was gonna say, could you put that on the radio?
Could we?
You know anybody? Radio? Okay.
At Raccoon River? No.
Hey. No,
Sorry.
we'll remove you for being hostile.
Okay. Other reports?
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Alert Adam, or Mr. Snowgren, Mr. DeVos, Mr. Stoper. I don't know if any of you three are on.
Yeah, I'll go. Last month we had our annual boiler inspection. Usually have it in August, but EMC switched insurance carriers through themselves, I guess. Now we have FM Global. We used to have Hartford Steam. So it was delayed and we got some late notices from the state, but we got them all inspected and didn't find anything wrong. There's 9 different pieces of equipment. So that went well. I don't know if anybody's driven through Grand Junction. The press box, we've been working on that periodically and put new steel and windows in it and put some new doors and gonna try to move the stairway inside. So that looks a lot better than it did. I guess I'd like to commend the custodians that have been working through the construction. The construction people do a pretty good job cleaning up after themselves, but there's still dust and other things that come along with it that they have to go above and beyond their normal duties to clean up. So, and then I guess we've been started working on moving the administration building. Last 10 days or so, we started moving some cabinets, and Sean and I started moving some boxes and stuff today. So hopefully get all that done over break. That's all I got.
Thank you. Mr. Gersma?
Good evening. As everybody's been talking about, we are getting ready to move the administration building. So that's the data center. So basically everything funnels back through here. So we'll start that process at 2 o'clock on Tuesday, the 22nd. And we're hoping to have that process finished before the end of the day on the 23rd. There's a lot that goes into it. So we've got the internet circuit that we need to coordinate with the telephone company. And I've been working with Dwayne and a couple other people over there with that, so we can get all those that funnel back here over to the middle school. And then the server structure as well. And there's more than you would think that goes with that as well. But yeah, it should be, hopefully, we've got everything kind of mapped out. So should be, in theory, knock on wood, a smooth transition. But yeah, once we take that offline, again, beginning right around 2 o'clock, that takes off internet access in every building, phones, printing, and then local access to server stuff. So this is a key cog, obviously, for all the cloud-based things that the district needs access to. So that's why we're trying to put more things out in the cloud, like Infinite Campus. We moved off-site, and Google, so they do all of our file storage and email. So in the event something like this were to go offline, we'd still have access to those services. On top of that, we'll also be working with Access Systems to upgrade some of our printers. Then that is to hopefully obtain some long-term savings. We've got lots of printers here, and some of them aren't the most cost-effective devices. So we're going to be replacing those with much more cost-effective printers that will, again, provide long-term cost savings and probably pay for the printer and then some over the life of the device. So yeah, it should be a fun, busy Christmas break. Kind of excited for it.
Merry Christmas. If you're not screwed by Christmas, I don't know. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That it?
Yep.
Okay. New business. Asbestos removal bids, former middle school. We have 4 bids on this sheet.
And I'd like to recommend Environmental Property Solutions, $93,200 for removal of asbestos from gymnasium and 3-story portion. And again, no matter what we do with the buildings, we need to get the asbestos out of the building. So that's the step that we do. It needs to be taken.
I move we approve Environmental Property Solutions to remove the asbestos from the old middle school.
Second.
Motion by Steve Fisher, second by Mike Denhart, to approve the Environmental Property Solutions bid for asbestos removal of the middle school. Please call the vote.
Wilson. Aye. McConnell.
Aye.
Denhart.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Carver.
Aye. Okay, passes. Change order, middle school renovation. Got a couple, 3 documents here.
There's 2 change orders.
And they're both for the middle school.
Right. 170,000, the other 40. Right, Brenda? What was our original budget on that project?
We started out at 4 million, but then we added we had more funding from that. We added the boilers to that for 200,000, and then we added the administrative office for that. They rebid that at 500,000. So
Yeah, we're 20% over the original budget. Yeah. Which you run into that when you're remodeling. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's, I mean, we got funds to do it. I'd say.
yes, and when we again the voted PEPAL and all that, once that, or not the voted PEPAL, I gotta get my mind. Once the 1 cent sales tax was approved, we had the ability to borrow additional money and decide to do more to the project than we initially talked about.
Was that the save?
Yes.
You're thinking, okay.
I'll move we approve the change orders for the middle school project.
Second.
Motion by Steve Fisher, second by Catherine, to approve the change orders, both of them. Please call the vote.
Denhart.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
Wilson. Aye. Fisher.
Aye.
Carver.
Aye. Certificates of substantial completion, we need to approve these as well, correct? Correct. Sam talked about that earlier. This basically is for everything, right? I mean,
The only thing we don't have yet would be the auditorium at high school would be that's the only thing that is
okay.
part of this.
We haven't done any of these yet, have we? Substantial completion.
A few meetings ago, we did look at one, but we didn't approve it just because they still had some more.
Yeah, I couldn't remember. I didn't think we approved any.
Yeah.
But so phase 1, 2, and 3 is what this one is?
Yes.
And without reading it all, where does it spell out the phases?
Looking at the high school, the career academy, the academic wing, and the music rooms, substantial completion was August 15th before school started. And then B, which is the gymnasium, was October 2nd. When we started using it. And then C and E, I guess they're looking at December 11th, so the auditorium is on here. And then the middle school, September 10th for basically the classroom one. November 30th for the gymnasium, and then December 23rd for the administrative office.
Are we able to use the wrestling room yet, or?
They plan on using the wrestling room after Christmas. The biggest thing, the mats have to set a certain number of days, and they've got to get the
We
power
are,
out.
we are using the gym, but
Was there an issue with the mats? I kind of heard.
The mats need to shrink a little bit. I'm not sure if they're a little bit too large, but I guess it's better to be too large than too small.
They shrink.
And they've shrunk a little bit. They said it takes up to a year, so I don't.
we put all these in one motion, we need separate motions.
I think
I
we
could
could
do
do
one.
them together.
So I'll move we approve these certificates of substantial completion as stated.
Second.
Moved by Steve Fisher, second by Catherine and John.
John McConnell.
Thirded by Joan.
To approve the certificates of substantial completion for basically all of high school and middle school projects. Please call the vote.
Wilson. Aye. Denhart.
Aye.
McConnell. Fisher.
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. First reading of new board policy 107.
They've made some changes at the federal level related to Title IX, which is sex discrimination. That we need to put this policy into effect. We've got most of the forms and everything that we've been doing it, but we have this new policy that we need to have in place, so this will be first reading.
So then we need to do this again next meeting.
Do it again in January, yes.
That's in place. Anything we need to do about it?
I just need to approve first reading.
We need a motion to approve the first reading.
Yeah.
You have that?
I move that we approve the educational philosophy of Series 100, policy discrimination and harassment based on sex prohibited.
Second? Second. Moved by Catherine Wilson, second by John McConnell, to approve the education philosophy series 100 on discrimination and harassment based on sex prohibited. First reading. Call vote.
Fisher.
Aye.
Denhart.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. Okay. Carter Iowa membership period.
I'll speak to this a little bit, but then have Mr. Gordon speak to it. In the process right now, Perry School District is interested, has made the application to join the Heart of Iowa Conference. They're going through, ADs are presenting or AD is presenting the ADs, principals. The official vote is actually in January. I don't know whether it's 2/3 have to approve for it to take place. In talking to Mr. Gordon, this is something that we would like to see, what the school districts are wanting boards to vote and take that to the 20th. So, Mr. Gordon, anything you'd like to add on that?
No, I would just add that we would be in favor of that. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's a natural rival. Obviously, 25 minutes away, it'd be nice to have a shorter bus trip and a shorter trip for our fans as well. We would appreciate that. And, you know, I just, on top of it all, we just think they bring a lot to the table in a lot of different ways, activity-wise. When we talk about leadership council, the diversity that we would be able to experience with them, that our kids could experience conference-wide as well, would be fantastic. And, you know, I think we're to the point where we believe that if we don't accept them as a conference, the state is going to step in and say, you're going to take them, because that would be their next, they can go apply, and because they are not competitive, obviously, right now in the Raccoon River, they could just still apply and we might have to take them, but we don't want to do that. We want to take them willingly and be good about it. So we'd be excited to add them and would, again, ask for the support of the board in that as well.
I'd move we approve the Heart of Iowa membership application, Perry.
Second.
Motion by Steve Fisher, second by Catherine Wilson to approve the application of Perry School for the Heart of Iowa Conference. Please call the vote.
McConnell.
Aye.
Denhart.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. Okay. Board policy review, series 600, 602.3. Are there any changes in here?
No, I did not see anything first, looking through those. Would recommend that we approve those. We have started kind of making a cursory look at calendars, so hopefully in January we'll be looking at maybe calendar for next year. But did not see any changes.
A motion to approve this board policy?
I'll move we approve board policy 600 through 602.3. Second.
Moved by Steve Fisher, second by John LaFond to approve board policies 600 through 602.3 as reviewed. Call the vote.
Denhart.
Aye.
Wilson. McConnell.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Carver.
Aye. Okay, agency funds. Do you want to
Let me take this.
speak to this, Brenda? You don't need to.
It doesn't matter. I think you know enough about it.
Well, you can fill in the blanks if you want me to, do, or you can just do it to start with.
We had our field audit and they were questioning, there's some new GASB rules coming out, which is more reporting that's the Government Accounting Standards Board. And they're looking at agency funds, which is a fiduciary fund, which means you're the custodian of someone else's money. Well, when we went together with East Green, they had some money in the agency fund. And I do have a little background on that I remember when it happened, but we did have to kind of go back and look at board minutes and stuff to find it. But there was I kind of have it spelled out here, but there was a donation given to the school, no strings attached, they could use it however they wanted to. And the board wanted to consider the idea of starting a foundation. At that time I was business manager over there, and myself and the superintendent did go to a meeting about forming a foundation. And then I left to come over here, and that ball never got picked up again. So anyway, so the money was sitting in their activity fund under agency. They used it for things like school assemblies, field trips, I think they went to the board convention, things like that. The original donation was over $34,000, and when we combined, it was down to $26,000. Since then, it hasn't been touched. It's earned some interest. So anyway, there's $27,000 in there right now. Our auditors say we need to get it out of there. It can't stay in that agency fund. That isn't what it is. But to move it out, the board has to decide where to move it. I'm not necessarily asking you to do this tonight. You can think over it and we can put it back on the agenda for January, but we need to move it somewhere. Giving it to the foundation the school foundation is not a good idea. There's a little bump in our audit about that, about giving away the Dixon money to the foundation. We're having a little bit of conflict about that. So you can use it for about anything. Tim kind of had an idea.
And to me, again, I think put it in the general fund, but it would be nice, since it was a donation, to maybe purchase something with it and be able to, comment that we purchased X with funds that were donated to East Green District.
I mean, something like the greenhouse.
What I was looking at, we have not really allocated funds for technology at the middle school. We did the Clever Touches at the high school. My thought would be to begin the process of purchasing Clever Touches for middle school classrooms.
Is there a name on that contribution then, or?
Well, it is, I do know who it was, but it was listed as anonymous.
Anonymous, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So it's nothing we could name something after?
No.
No.
They really made no recommendations how to use the money either. It wasn't like it was supposed to be for this or that or the other thing.
Okay.
I mean, the Clever Touches are something that I think we need to do whenever we have money available to do it.
Right.
Sooner the better. If this money is available, Sounds like a great idea to me.
Yeah.
I don't know how the rest of you feel.
But sounds good to me. Do we need a motion then to approve it for a specific purpose or just to move it?
I think they asked for a specific person.
Yeah, they did
Okay,
good
So it would
ideas.
be a motion to move the general fund for the specific use in the obtaining clever touch boards technology for middle school.
I'd make that motion.
I second it.
Moved by Steve Fisher, second by Catherine. Steve, you get that, okay?
Yep.
Please call the vote.
McConnell.
Aye.
Denhart.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. And I asked Tim earlier that this would pretty much cover the cost of supplying the classrooms in the middle school.
Yeah, in a minimum, looking at the, we've got 4 classrooms, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, so 16 classrooms. They're about $2,000 a piece, so this would be 27. We need to supplement a little bit, but pretty much covered. Get those.
Okay. Last thing we have to do is to approve the at-risk dropout prevention request. We have to do this to get additional spending authority, correct?
Right.
Yeah, we do at-risk dropout that helps fund our alternative school program. It helps fund school nurses. It helps fund counselors. Helps fund a lot of things. Again, the nice thing, the state has gone through kind of a roller coaster. Right now, the application is very straightforward, very easy. 5 years ago, you had to jump through hoops that was pretty challenging, but just recommend that we approve this. Again, this is it's actually for next school year. Applications due January before our January board meeting. So that's why we added it on here.
Motion.
So the motion needs to be to approve the SBRC request or I'll move that we approve that special request for the 2021-22 at-risk dropout prevention program funding.
Second.
Motion by Steve Fisher, second Catherine Wilson to approve the SBRC request for the at-risk dropout prevention program. Please call the vote.
Denhart.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. Editorial, it was interesting that the news media got a hold of how many students are down in the Des Moines school districts. Same thing we experienced, and I reported earlier that Cedar Rapids was down like 400 students or something like that.
Do you know what ours is? I mean, I know it's early to be able to say, but
I mean, we're down 40 students.
that's the dropout. I'm just
No.
kind of curious at high school level. Do you feel like kids that are virtual learning right now are at the risk of?
Oh, you're talking about
Right.
grades and everything? I don't know.
I don't know. What were you guys?
We're just talking about the students that
enrolled.
Right,
are
right,
not enrolled
right.
across the state. It's everywhere. It's not just, I mean, we're down 40. We don't feel like we should have been. Cedar Rapids is down like 400.
Yeah,
They don't know where they're at, yeah. Crazy.
It's just crazy. Where are these kids? And there aren't any good stories for us, I'm afraid. Great. Superintendent's report.
Related to that, every Tuesday morning, we have an AA superintendent's meeting, do it via Zoom. Yesterday, we did that, but we had legislators who were involved in that too. Again, really appreciate Phil Thompson does a very nice job for us. And Jesse Green is will be our new senator. At some point in time, we'd like to meet with them and maybe even get them in here to talk to the board. But already, one thing that I talked to in that meeting about, last year they talked about a work-based learning coordinator position as being a shared position. I kind of talked about that. Phil Thompson is going to look at sponsor some legislation. So again, they've been very good, but want to get them in here to talk to the board. The one thing we did, all the superintendents talked about is, enrollment, and, is the state going to look at, backfilling, doing some of those things. So was involved in that. I want to commend the board again. I know last month to go temporary remote for a week and a half was a challenge, but I think that was the best thing that we could have done. I felt like we were paddling upstream. Before that, we were having, seemed like 10 cases or more a week. In the 2.5 weeks since we've been back from Thanksgiving, we've got 8 total cases across the district, and again, piggyback on that, I think Greene County as a whole, we're down to 11.6 is the positivity rate, so it's been a combined effort, so just want to, again, thanks everybody for doing that, and again, it's impossible to thank everybody for all the work that they're doing, but everybody is doing great stuff, from custodians, teachers, nurses, secretaries, the whole nine yards. So just want to thank everybody for that, and just remind people to go out to the school and do a little tour.
Okay, that's a good question. Okay, moving on, second semester, we're probably not going to change a lot with the online learning, right, remote learning. As far as the kids that are participating in, are there many kids that are deciding to come back, or has there been much change in those numbers?
It hasn't been a huge, again, we had some people before Thanksgiving that say they were gonna go remote until Christmas. I anticipate seeing a lot of kids come back after Christmas, and we're gonna continue to try to push some of that.
And I don't expect the answers to these questions, but are we thinking about how we're gonna proceed into next fall yet? Probably not.
No, we've had conversations.
And I guess one of the things that I would recommend looking at, when we've talked about it a little bit, Tim, about, rather than having teachers be responsible for these online learners, I think if we move into that next year where we have to, accommodate online learners, I think we ought to look into that program that we talked about that other schools are doing, where they actually just turn all their online kids over to an academy type situation, or it's an online academy, for lack of a better phrase, but you still retain them as students then, don't you?
Correct.
Yeah, so I think that would relieve a lot of pressure on our teachers, and it would possibly keep kids enrolled that may otherwise say, hey, I'm just gonna go be a homeschool kid,
What we were kind of discussing before the meeting is, about the vaccine and some of those things. To me, the direction it's headed, I see next fall, if you ever watch the governor's press conferences, I don't know whether you watch any of those. She ended last week's press conference, again, whether you like it or not, but basically saying, contact your local school boards and get your kids back in school, was her comment as she was walking off the stage. I truly believe that next school year, maybe even at some point next spring, it'll come really down on, you need to get the vaccine, and I see them taking a very narrow look at who would be eligible not to attend school.
Certainly, some of the kids do really well with the technology. We've got a group that don't even show up.
Right.
If we get them in the classroom, at least we can get them in the classroom and have their attention for that time. So my bias is we need to get everybody back in the classroom.
Absolutely, I agree.
And I think, the CDC and Fauci and all those people are saying we should be back to some sort of semblance of normalcy, at least by summer. So I would anticipate that hopefully next year we don't even have to talk about any of those things. Okay.
As you go out to the high school, and I don't know, or excuse me, the middle school. We've completely changed stuff out there. I don't know if you paid attention. Circle Drive, we basically don't really use anymore. And the parents go through, they enter the parking lot on the far east and drive around. So where you need to park is basically out in the student parking lot, park out there. Then we're going to school.
And the door is the same, like.
On the east side.
I will meet you, we'll go in the ramp, the door there by the kitchen.
Okay.
Will be the easiest one.
Very few